Hey everyone, I'm Melissa Paris. I've been a club racer, I've raced professionally, I've been a crew chief, and now I'm a team owner. And we're here today to work on a skill that I wish someone would have taught to me specifically when I first started racing. We are going to be installing a set of Sharkskin's bodywork on our race bike. Today we're going to be installing this bodywork on a Yamaha R7, but the techniques that we're going to use are pretty universal to any kind of bike you might be working on. One thing I really like about Sharkskin specifically is it's manufactured here in the US. It's very easy to get great customer service. I like to always make sure that I have a variety of tools that I'm going to need to take the stock bodywork off. Personally, I like to keep a muffin tin around because it's really good for organizing all the hardware as it comes off the bike. You'll also need a drill with a variety of drill bits and a unibit. You'll need a rivet gun, and you'll need your hardware. Here we have the ones that you can get directly from iOneMoto. Optional tools that aren't really necessary, but that I like to do just to keep things extra tidy: a little piece of sandpaper and a craft knife. So the very first thing I do, I inspect everything, make sure I've got all the right parts, everything is complete, and then I know I'm good to go and get started with the fun part. The next thing that we need to do, obviously, is remove all of the OEM bodywork off of our motorcycle. When I'm doing this, a little trick I have is I like to keep a muffin tin handy and keep the hardware in it, and I'll even take a Sharpie and write a note of where particular pieces of hardware came from. The first part of bodywork I usually install is the upper. You have to keep in mind that you watched me take the stock bodywork off and there was like 15 different pieces to the upper. And for the sake of something like this, you've now made one piece that all goes on together. So naturally, you're gonna have to kind of finagle it on. If you find yourself having to force things, it's a good time to stop and reassess. One of the best features of Sharkskin's bodywork is that it's made with a lot of precision. So you can really count on the dimples being in the correct place for where you're gonna need to drill holes. Some pilot holes for the windscreen. All Sharkskin's products are made so they'll accept an OEM windscreen or an aftermarket windscreen, depending on what you prefer. I like mark my unibit with a marker so I know exactly how far in to go. It's really easy to not pay attention and drill to the wrong spot. Sometimes you'll get like little threads of fiberglass and eventually they'll work their way off, but this is just like little things I like to do. So you have several options for mounting to your fairing stay. Today, I'm just gonna do a nut and bolt. Another option for holding the front part of the upper on is to use Delrin plugs so that you can have a quick release with just a pin. Try to be intentional about your hardware choices so that you don't need 17 different tools to get a set of bodywork off. I like to go ahead and install my windscreen. Now that we have the upper on, the next step's going to be fitting the belly pan. If you plan to race, you may need to drill a hole for a rain race and then you fit a plug in it. These are the D-ring Zeus fasteners that are available from iOneMoto. You would have 2 pop rivets, your little D-ring, and it kind of fits in and it does a quarter turn and then very nice and tidy. You can see they've gone through the trouble of reinforcing a point like this, loosely mounting it, that way I can confidently drill the rest of my holes. I've drilled all the holes on the lower, so like one thing I like to do is hold it in place where it's gonna go. I can mark where each of the backing plates for the Zeus fasteners are gonna go. I drill out the center piece and then I'm able to use this tool to help me line up where to drill for each of my pop rivets. Once I've done that, I can use the rivets to rivet the backing of the Zeus fastener onto the lower piece of bodywork, and then the upper sandwiches over it, and the quarter turn fastener just holds everything together. As I get fasteners in, I like to double check my marks for my other fasteners and make sure I'm still happy with where I've marked them. So at this point, we have our upper mounted, we have our lower securely mounted, and we're gonna move on to the tail section. A lot of our Sharkskin's bodywork come with these brackets that mount onto the subframe. They help secure your tail section. It has arrows so you know which direction to put it in. Set this on here. Don't force things. These things are made with a lot of precision. On the tail section, I mean, it really is so simple. I just drilled right where the dimples were, and these bolts are going straight into a factory Bodywork mount point. All that's left to do on this tail section now is to mount the undertail. I've drilled out where each of the dimples is. You mount it up here. You can mark for all of your spots. Go ahead and drill them out and install your rivets. There are several advantages to using aftermarket bodywork. Number one, it is obviously much easier and cheaper to replace. But the main thing is just functionality at the racetrack, being able to work on your motorcycle. If you watched me take all the stock stuff off, you saw there was about 456 different pieces. We have now reduced that down to basically 3. Depending on the model motorcycle you have, you're probably going to need to use a few of the OEM pieces. In this case with the R7, you can see we have the OEM tank cover and we have these OEM side panels. Right now I have the standard seat on it, but there is an available seat pan, like a race seat pan that you can use as well. So that's just really up to your preference. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, make sure you give us a like or a follow, and we'll see you next time.